you start living on a lifestyle. And then if our income drops, our lifestyle can't drop fast enough. And that's where we get stuck. We use credit cards and, you buy things on payments. Our greatest wealth building tool is our income. So we can really scrimp and save over here because there's no money and you don't want to go make more money, or we can live intentionally and let's go focus the next year, 2 years, 3 years in raising this, right? I call it raising the bridge versus lowering the water. There was a time in my life I would not have fit in this chair.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I was 300 pounds 11, 12 years ago, and alcoholic, addictive sports gambler, smoked a pack of cigarettes a day, fast food twice a day, and $500,000 in debt.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Fit and Frugal podcast. I am your host, Tani Nguyen. You can find me on IG at Tanisaurus. So today I'm here with my friend Matt Plumer. He's a financial coach, real estate, I kind of forget what you do.
Real estate agent.
Yeah, you can do it better.
Financial coach for real estate agents, entrepreneurs, and entrepreneur couples is definitely people that generally attract or flow into my world.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Is that like I remember you mentioning something with something that stuck out to me was financial instability, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like couples have a harder time when they're both entrepreneurs?
Yeah, that is such a tough battle that they go into it unknowing like how tough that's going to be. Right? I mean, after now thousands of conversations with mostly real estate agents or other entrepreneurs, the two things that we have found that the two things that stress agents and entrepreneurs and even couples out the most is inconsistent income and then also financial disorganization.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, as entrepreneurs, especially real estate agents, I mean, that's really who my client is. At the core is that when $20,000 comes in, 1, 2, 3 different closings on a specific month, so many people have lived a lifestyle that has a certain number. And so the money that comes in has generally already spoken for, whether that's payments or lifestyle or debt or whatever it might be. And so, but also as real estate agents, everybody, when you start the world of real estate, like nobody signed up for or raises their hand. They want to do open houses every week. They want to sell real estate forever. And they want to make sure they talk to 50 people a day. Like nobody signed up for real estate because of that. They signed up for the freedom and the flexibility and the entrepreneurship and all of that. And so when you put $20,000 a month into someone's bank account that doesn't know how to run a business or has never been taught to run a business, they think all $20,000 is theirs. So they live a $20,000 lifestyle, but they forget to or haven't allocated money for profit and taxes and business expenses and future things and opportunities and investments into the business. And so they just start this transaction. They're just caught on this transaction treadmill. And a lot of it can be overcome because of with organization and then also consistent income.
Yeah, I think that's one of the language I really like is people don't think budgeting is sexy.
No.
But to reframe it, it's just budgeting is just telling your money what to do instead of figuring out where your money went afterwards.
100%. Like it's just telling your money what to do before you spend it.
Yeah.
Right. I don't care what you spend your money on. That is not my job. Now, I will give some coaching or advice or counseling or consulting if I might see something that's out of hand. For example, spending $300 on food and $3,000 on golf. We might want to flip those. We might want to slide those numbers in a different direction, right? Or to where it's balanced, right? Yeah. I don't want you to eat peanut butter and jelly every day, but you get to go play golf 24/7. Same thing with there's got to be some balance, right? And so it's just saying, hey, I'm making $10,000 a month or $6,000 a month or $60,000 or $600,000, whatever the numbers are. You have to tell every dollar what to do before you spend it.
That was my biggest mistake too, having a more disposable income when I was a bartender and multiple streams of income that I was kind of mismanaging is because it was cash and it was just flowing from all sorts of places. It was in different bank accounts. It was going to my businesses. When I was going to college, I didn't have time to manage my money. So it was just kind of staggered everywhere. And I think my spending stayed at an inflated lifestyle that I didn't realize I picked up. And then once, when I went back to college, like it was kind of less. And then I still lived on the same expenses. And that's exactly what you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's the disorganization.
Well, and it's also when we start living and have that lifestyle creep, kick in as we start making more money in business and entrepreneurship. And, we get into real estate and we have real estate investing and we start investing in the stock market or real estate capital funds or whatever it might be. And you start living on a lifestyle. And then if our income drops, our lifestyle can't drop fast enough. And that's where we get stuck. We use credit cards and, you buy things on payments. And obviously in this town, I mean, anyone on the corner will lend you money at 37% interest. And, you go next thing you know, your income's back up to where it is, but you can't catch up because you've overextended yourself on obligations.
Yeah, especially consumer debt.
Or whatever it is, right? I mean, it can cars, student loans, credit cards. I mean, and it doesn't take much.
Yeah. Do you think that's where a lot of the root issues for couples who are entrepreneurs together or take on that journey together is that they can't have that financial conversation at the beginning of the relationship?
I think that it's they don't want to. And I know for the longest time, it probably 40 years ago, when my mom and dad met in high school, there was no money. So it was like, why even have, we both have zero, right? Today, I mean, you're getting people that come out of college. Some have $200,000 worth of debt and some make $100,000 a year the day they leave college. And that's because of obviously the opportunities that are out there, right? With the internet and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all the stuff where you can truly have a business in the dorm room, where that didn't even exist unless you were a bookie 15 years ago, which I'm sure there were people on my floor in college that were, right? So now I think that people, they don't want to talk about it or they think it's too personal. But I mean, if we're going to go on dates every week and if it's more than dinner, if it's more than the movie, like we need to have conversation on who's paying for it, like, and how is paying for it. And I think that's an easy way to start talking about, hey, Twani, like, hey, we've gone on some dates, or Melinda, right? My wife, like, hey, we've gone on some dates. Like, if we're starting to see ourselves go down the road, let me ask you this. How do you handle your money? Like, if you make $10,000 a month, how do you handle it? I don't really care about your debt or your background. Like today, if you make 10 grand, how do you handle it? And ask me the same thing. And as you go down that road and you become together and more, engaged, and then married as a couple, I think the biggest challenge that couples have is that they don't have a conversation around goals and money and what they want for their life. And then that just defaults into what's mine is mine and what's Melinda's is Melinda's. And hey, she makes this and I make this. And yeah, we go on some trips together, but the money never talks to each other. Yeah. And I think that's just a really big challenge that a lot of couples have to overcome if that's how they handle their finances versus, my personal income comes into an account, Melinda's personal income comes into an account, and then we decide as a family and as a couple what we do with that amount of money every single month.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of that shapes to societal's expectations because the traditional route is, the man is the provider, the woman is the nurturer at home and doesn't really have the resources or the knowledge to handle a lot of money until lately, to where women are more outspoken, they make their own money, so they want to keep it kind of separate, right? So where does that conversation kick in?
I just think that it's going to be I believe it's who you surround yourself with. I know that I surround myself with people that have, common goals and philosophies and not ideals, but like we don't worship money, but we have the same beliefs around finances. Mm-hmm. And that our spouse, regardless if that spouse is a homemaker with 3 kids or that spouse makes $2 million a year because she's the CEO of XYZ and anywhere in between, that regardless of what that person makes, it's all our money. And I just think that if you're not having that conversation with people, you should, because it's affecting your relationship. Whether you believe it or not, I believe it's affecting your relationship, and it's 100% affecting your wealth building journey.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think to be aligned on a mission, especially something that I think my partner and I talk about, is like, hey, it's our values aligned, our mission, and especially our lifestyle, right? And then the first couple conversations before we even dated seriously, we had like debt dates. That's what we call them.
There you go.
Lay it out on the table.
I like it.
Do you know?
I'm taking it.
Debt dates.
Yeah, you have debt dates,
Where are
right?
you at on personal finances? What do you spend on? And I'm pretty open. I'm like, hey, this is my spreadsheet. This is how far I've gone from being completely an emotional spender and impulsive spender. Because there's months to where you like, it's just a wreckage. Like, I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Well, yeah. And hey, you know what? I busted the budget this month. Or, you know, hey, I went way out on this, you know, on this category. And we experienced that a little bit, you know, not necessarily today, 12 months after, but we just moved to Las Vegas 12 months ago. And for the first one, we, you know, I'm a planner, right? I'm the nerd. I'm the spreadsheet guy. Melinda's like, what's my fun money for the month? And I'm like, okay, you know, I've got a 13 generation spreadsheet, right?
Oh, wow.
That's someone that's not that crazy, but you know, you get the point. So we saved a ton of money because I looked into the future. And I think that's one of the superpowers I have with, you know, the coaching clients that I work with is I can see things before you even know they exist when it comes to money. For example, when we were moving, we have movers, we have furniture, we have window treatments, we have things that are going in the house, like the light fixtures and the ceiling fans and all of that stuff. And that stuff's just going to cost a ton of money, right? Throughout this process. I also know how people, when they move into something and they get something new, because I've had so many conversations with people that, hey, we're going to need new plates and new spatulas and new rugs and new this and new lamps and all this stuff. So we planned for it and it still wasn't enough. And so I set aside a certain amount of money to just allow Melinda to just do her thing for the first 90 days, right? Now, there were guardrails, right? I had to. But you have to have those conversations with your spouse and even your partner, right? And I think the best and easiest way to bring it up is to share your journey, right? So case in point, we started our financial journey back in 2014, and we were making some traction. And I started asking my mom some questions around like her money and her debt and this and that, or their finances, right? Not necessarily like with their business, but hey, what are you guys thinking about this? And where are you guys thinking about that? And it very easily came to that powdered butt syndrome, right? Like she was like, you powdered my butt, we don't need to talk about money. Or I powdered your butt, we don't need to talk about money, right? And I couldn't tell my mom what to do with money. But I could share with her how much debt that we paid off and that we paid off a car, we sold a car, we eliminated this credit card debt. And that got her engaged to where she started asking me questions, right? So if you have a partner that's not open or doesn't want to share or willing or there's some conflict, and that's a business partner or a spouse or you know, you're dating anyone, like just share it's like, cool. Can I tell you what I've done? Because I'm very proud of it, right? I have a net worth of this, and I paid off $14,000 last month, or I saved $10,000 in, you know, to invest into an IRA or a SEP IRA, or $6,000 into a SEP or a retirement account, or whatever. I think you just come from that vulnerability and say, hey, here's all my stuff, and here's the journey I'm on. I think it's just going to open up that conversation a little more.
Yeah, I think one of the values that I misplaced, I guess, within myself is the fact that at the core, I'm pretty frugal. I think I just kind of lost it within the lifestyle inflated versions of myself in my 20s. You know, with all the drinking, it didn't really help because bar tabs cost a lot. And coming from like as an ex-bartender, like I know the margins on how much drinks cost because I ran the bars and I know how much things cost, but I still go out and spend money. And I think that kind of leads into how disconnected I was from my own finances is because I was kind of falsifying connections with people. It's because, you know, those kind of friends that you meet at bars and your drinking buddies and all that stuff. Like we've never really had any eventual goals together to make more money or to do anything until I kind of moved here. And I think that was the costly mistake, that I lived for about 10 years plus.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I think within my teenage years too, just doing things that are cash based, and cash is so much harder to track than if I was getting a steady income, which I never really had, like a true W-2.
Yeah, sure.
I think I held like a mall job for like less than a year. I was miserable. I think on the third month, I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I can't have someone tell me what to do for $8 an hour, right?
Yeah.
This was like 2008, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was terrible. And I'm like, I don't think this is the life I wanted to live. So it's good that you kind of brought that up with sharing your journey with your partner. Does that conversation like happen before an engagement, or is that a red flag that people should be looking out?
No, I think today, if you're in the dating world now and you're going through the dates and the conversations and you find people that you're connected with, I personally would be transparent. I think that's more attractive than holding things close to the vest. That's just my personal opinion. You're also talking to someone that hasn't gone on a date with anyone else since 1998. So I don't know what the dating world is like, right? So I have zero comprehension on what that looks like. However, I know that if I am open and transparent, and it's because I've been open and transparent since day one of social, through my alcoholism and my journey and my weight transformation and financial transformation, and now business and moving relocation transformation. Like, I just think that that's going to be so much more powerful and impactful for the relationship and that other person than if you just kind of hold things close to the vest for a really long period of time.
Where'd you relocate from?
We were in Northern Virginia, so in the Ashburn, Sterling, Reston area, Dulles Airport, Tyson's Corner corridor. Mm-hmm. We lived there for 20 some odd years since college.
Like, what was your decision like moving here? Has your lifestyle and spending changed since you moved to Vegas?
That's such a good question. Yes and no. Our lifestyle has dramatically changed from a quality of life standpoint. And we spend the same amount of money than we did in Northern Virginia. We just spend it a little differently here. Frankly, because we don't have the same type of, we lived in a high-rise, 1,000 square foot apartment for 5 or 6 years in Northern Virginia. So that cost is pretty confined, right? I mean, it's just, you're paying rent, food is this much. There's only so much stuff that fits in the house. So we were able to save a lot of money to make this journey. Now that we've moved and we've settled, we're spending on like the consumables, we're still spending the same amount. I would say where we're spending more is things that are improving our lifestyle or improving our quality of life, not necessarily raising our lifestyle to an all-time high.
And what does that look like here?
Yeah. So like here is, it's hard to say from a food and standpoint, because there's, as we were moving, the inflation of the economy was just going up. It is definitely more expensive to eat out here than it is in Northern Virginia, by far. I think some of that obviously is just the trend of how much it costs to eat out. But for whatever reason, like, just costs, this is a couple dollars more, this is a couple dollars more, this is a couple dollars more, and next thing you know, it's $20 more to eat for a couple of two than it was to just go across the street to the Reston Town Center. I have no idea why, but it just does. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's more restaurant selections here too.
Yeah, and there's more restaurant and
you spend more money on golf here or something.
Well, golf. Yeah, the golf here in the shoulders, right? In the in the April, May, and the October, it can get out of hand. Golf can get really expensive here.
Like, what's the most you've spent in a month on golf?
Well, I played Cascada, so if I play Cascada and a couple other golf courses, you'll spend $700 or $800 pretty easily. But Cascada is $500 before tip and before caddy and this and that. Shadow Creek is $1,000 plus. You can play those golf courses how often as you want, but that starts eating into future possible money. And again, it's all relative. Yeah. Right. That's one thing that I've learned in the last 5-6 years of really how I look at money as, my $100 is not the same as Bob's $100 if he makes $3 million. And if I make, $500,000, he makes $3 million, like those $100 are different, right? Him spending, it's the same $100, but the way it's just in a relationship to his income, as long as the ratios are there and you're doing the right stuff with money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's allocated.
And that's where I'm really focused on is like, hey, now as I'm growing my business and I'm encouraging and coaching my clients is like, hey, our greatest wealth building tool is our income. So we can really scrimp and save over here because there's no money and you don't want to go make more money, or we can live intentionally and let's go focus the next year, 2 years, 3 years in raising this, right? I call it raising the bridge versus lowering the water. Let's maintain and stabilize the water so we can go raise the bridge. While we raise the bridge, now we have much more income that we can aim at opportunities versus obligations.
That's a really good concept. I'm going to make note of that.
Yeah.
I just thought of a castle with a moat.
Yeah. So if you think like our greatest wealth building tools are income. And when all of our income, like it used to be for us, was going towards obligations, debt, car payments, student loans, back taxes with IRS, it can't go towards opportunities. IRAs, 401ks, real estate, capital funds, saving for future opportunities, right? And so, which is one of the foundations of my business of stress-free wealth, stabilize the present, we structure the future. We have to stabilize that water level first, which is the spending, so we can go raise the bridge, which is our income.
Yeah, this conversation, I kind of wish it was happening 2 years ago when I was floating in my water.
Yeah.
When I was trying to figure out where the hell all my
normally
money
how it works.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to drown first and then try to get yourself out.
You got to save yourself first and then
and then meet the right people or something like that. I think that's just how the universe works.
But it's never too late, right?
Yeah.
I mean, on your journey, right? Your sobriety and my sobriety, like I met the right person at the right time that challenged me to go to 90 meetings in 90 days.
Oh, really? How long ago was that?
11 years ago.
11 years ago.
Yeah.
That's right.
I didn't make it 90 days, but I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
I didn't go to 90 meetings, but but I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, you just have to have that, transformation's a 3-step process: awareness, decision, intentionality. Whether it's money or finances or money or weight, physical, financial, sobriety, whatever it is, whatever type of lifestyle, whatever type of transformation you want to have those 3: awareness, rock bottom moment. Like there was a time in my life I would not have fit in this chair.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I was 300 pounds 11, 12 years ago, and alcoholic, addictive, sports gambler, smoked a pack of cigarettes a day, fast food twice a day, and $500,000 in debt.
Was a lot of that your own doing, or did you think that wherever you were before, like that environment kind of created you? So
it all started with me mirroring what my dad was doing. So as for all the parents that are listening to this, right, more is caught than taught when it comes to your kids. And I was catching everything my dad was doing. So when my parents got divorced, I kind of geared off towards my dad. My sister went towards my mom. And we were both with my mom, but I was like, I'm going to go hang out with dad, right? I'm going to go do that. And that's when I learned how to play golf and all of that. But I would see him, drink in the field at 12 o'clock. I would see him sign for the $5 cheeseburger at the golf course, put it on the tab, right? I would see him, be with his friends and drink and just do stuff they weren't, probably looking back, zero business doing, right? Looking back at 16, I think I'm a cool kid because I get to hang out with my dad while I'm doing all this stuff, right? So I saw him sign for, $5 cheeseburgers and $50,000 combines. I just saw him do it. And so when I went to college and I borrowed money to go to college. I borrowed money to get my first car. I had credit cards in college because I didn't know how to handle money because I just did it. I saw my dad do it. And so I think it's all really learned at home, and then it just get into the world. But when I was when I was at that rock bottom moment in 2012, I thought it was all Melinda's fault. We were literally sitting on a couch like this. Mm-hmm. She was on one end, I was on the other, and he asked me if I could go 90 and 90, and I was like, dude, I'll do whatever I want, but she's still gonna, bitch and moan, right? And that didn't go well. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I thought it was all her fault. I thought the reason why the back seat had cartons of cigarettes and Diet Coke bottles and bags of, old bags of fast food, and why I drank, I thought it was all of the nagging that she was doing on me. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it was all me doing it, because I didn't have a relationship with her. Like we were together, we were engaged, we were married, but there was no conversation.
Yeah.
It was just roommates, and we made it official, and we got married, and like that was the vibe of our relationship in the beginning, looking back now.
Yeah.
We didn't see it then, but looking back, that's all it was.
Yeah, it's good that you can sit here and reflect back, because it kind of sounds like you're just operating both on autopilot.
Oh, it was 100% autopilot.
Get through whatever you were trying to get through.
Yeah. It was tough. Like, man, looking back, those last couple of years, my darkest moments were like 2008 to 2012. 100% self-inflicted. I made more money than I made in my entire life in those 5 years, and the economy was going through chaos, and I was making plenty of money. And it was just stacking bad habit after bad habit after bad habit, because I had no structure, I had no goals, I didn't have a mentor. The people that I hung out with were just like speed pedals on the right. There's no brake, and let's go. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I had my rock bottom moment in 2012, and I didn't start with alcohol. I was a train wreck. But I started with weight, and then when I got some few victories on the scale, it was easier to say no to drinking, because the alcohol affected the weight loss. It wasn't alcohol affected me or my relationship with Melinda. The alcohol affected the weight loss, so I stopped drinking as much.
So like the minute you stopped drinking, you lost the weight, or?
So I started losing weight. I was 293 pounds, and I was 291, then 289, then 287. And so I was seeing some victories, and I knew, because I'd done it in the past, I'd lost weight before, that if I was drinking a Coors Light and Tawaka or Jaeger or Fireball or whatever it was I drank, then that was going to hurt me losing weight. And so instead of like stop drinking totally, I was like, I'll just drink vodka instead.
Because it's the healthier option.
Because it's less calories, right? Or less carbs, right? So that plan didn't go well. But then eventually I got to that moment. I had I was coming home from Washington, D.C. of an event. I was driving down I-66, and I'm like, man, I am tired of pissing away days of sobriety. Because I'd have to come here, sit on this couch, and talk to my counselor that's sitting in that chair and tell him that I was 3 days sober instead of 7. Because we met every Thursday at 9:15. And every week for like 4 or 5 weeks, I came in, and it wasn't 7 days of sobriety. And that just I got so mad at that I stopped drinking May 19th.
Yeah. Was that the one point you just had enough of your own shit too?
Yeah. And I was like, and so when I stopped drinking, and I haven't drank since, 2 weeks later, I had a massive blowout on gambling. I went like 4-27 on a weekend. Lost, I don't know how many thousands of dollars, and I haven't placed a bet since.
Oh, really?
So it was like, when I go. Like, yeah. There's generally some carnage and fire and a train wreck associated with it. Mm-hmm. But thankfully, nobody got hurt, right? It's just my own disaster. But yeah, lost the weight, got some victories, quit drinking, and then it was fast. And then once I stopped gambling and drinking and focused on weight loss, Like I lost 30, 40 pounds in a summer. And then it was just that, that started a domino run that you look back and I mean, it's pretty significant.
Yeah. What's that
over a
transformation
decade.
like when you look back? Like, because, like, do you and Melinda talk about it because your relationship is more intentional now, right? Like, she could have left you at any time. You probably are aware of that.
100%.
Why didn't she? Did you question her? Like, why didn't you just leave me if I was such a train wreck?
Yeah. She really loved me. And she had so much faith in Jesus that I was going to come around. Yeah. I gave her a hard, I know I said so many bad things, like mean.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just leave? If I suck so bad, just leave. And I know she said that was like, because I love you too much. And if I leave, something bad's going to happen. And so she didn't.
Yeah.
Right? There was never a car wreck. Nobody got, like, I talk to people all the time that I ran with back in the day. I was like, dude, how did we keep it between the guardrails for so long and not run off the road, hit a light pole?
Mm-hmm.
God, I pray every day and thank God that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And anytime that you hear that story, it just tears me up because that so easily could have been me. Yeah. Right? That hurt that child or hurt that kid or whatever because of being a drunk.
Yeah, because you never think it's you either. Because you think you're in control.
Oh, yeah.
And all of these
you're a superhuman when, you think you're a superhuman when you go 5-2 and you win $1,500 and, you have 14 beers and 3 cheeseburgers and you think you're untouchable.
Yeah, right? That sounds like my bar shoes.
Well, I thank God that drugs never came in because I probably wouldn't be here if that was the case.
Really?
Yeah, I never got into drugs, never touched them. Just thank goodness.
Yeah.
Like I had that much common sense, but we talk about it now. I mean, we meet monthly, right? You mentioned the debt dates, right? Mm-hmm. We talk every month about where our goals are. Where are we going to go on a date this month? Which church service we want to go to. We're still trying to figure that out here in Vegas of, what's going to be our home church and stuff. And obviously every month we sit down before the month begins and we say, hey, this month it's going to be $18,000. This month it's going to be $27,000. Hey, this month is it's $50,000 this month. What do we want to do with this money? And that used to be $4,000, $5,000, $7,000, $3,000, no thousand. Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
How are we going to make this work? And we just, we got on the same page pretty quick when I got sober. And as we both went through a physical transformation, she's also sober. She's, I think next year's a decade. I think she was 2014, August of 2014. So, she'll be celebrating a decade next year. We talk about and kind of reminisce a little bit about it, but I don't want to stoke the fire too much and bring up those, any of the bad memories for her. Mm-hmm. Right. I will take all of that brunt and hold that before I even think about even bringing it back on her. Like I'll just carry that with me. Yeah. And I just don't want to bring it up. Right. So with her, I don't want to bring it up because I just don't want to bring up any bad memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk every month about that kind of stuff. And then, we have such great weather here. We go on little 1, 2, 3, 4 mile walks and hikes. And, I know when to ask and when not to ask, right? About goals or how she's feeling or this and that. And, but yeah, we've been together a long time.
Yeah. I think our lifestyle is definitely underrated here because we're accessible to so many things that doesn't really require money because people think living in Vegas is super expensive, but
it doesn't cost any money to play pickleball or go on a hike.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, you can go to any park out in Summerlin and they've got 4, 5, 6 pickleball courts and, the aquatic center out in Summerlin, you can swim for nothing. You can go to the park for nothing. I mean, the Red Rock Canyon costs what, $13, $14. It just doesn't cost that much to get into the parks.
Yeah.
You can go to Mount Charleston and it doesn't cost anything.
Lake Mead's like $30 for a pass.
Yeah. So you can do so much off of this, we're right here off the boulevard, but I mean, all the money's here, right? On the strip. if you can stay off the strip, and maybe if you come down for shows or whatever, it just doesn't cost that much to live here unless you just kind of get caught up in the vibe, which of, downtown Summerlin, you go here and you go here, you go to the strip, and next thing you know, you were mentioning like how much alcohol costs. I mean, go to the strip and have a ribeye versus going to, Whole Foods and going to Whole Foods and buying a ribeye, right? I mean, you talk about a 6 or 7x cost to the exact same piece of meat. Mm-hmm. And, so that's what I help people just understand, is that I'm not here to tell you not to buy the $75 steak. Mm-hmm. It's my job to help you understand that you can go get a $15 steak. It's going to taste just the same. And we can spend $50 on doing something else. But if you want to go to the strip, or you want to go to, Yellowtail, have a ribeye, have some sushi, have a bottle of wine, it's going to be a $400 dinner. Plan on it. Don't just do it and then get there and spend $400 and don't know why you spent $400.
Yep.
If you want to spend $400 on a dinner, go spend $400 on a dinner. You want to go spend $1,000 at the craps table, go spend $1,000 at the craps table. Please do. It keeps our taxes at zero. However, do it intentionally. Like, have it part of your written plan that says, this month, I'm going to go gamble $1,000. And take $1,000 and go down and gamble.
Yeah.
But also, make sure you give. Make sure, because there's 3 things you can do with money. Be generous, save and invest it, and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And if you want to take some of that, money that you enjoy after you are generous and after you save and invest, and you want to take some of that money and enjoy, and you want to go have a big dinner, go have a big dinner. Just do it intentionally.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, how they got out of that mindset is they're like, oh, I deserve it. It's because I got a promotion, I got this, I got that. We need to celebrate all of these things without realizing like it's not really allocated for it.
Yeah.
Because, I was guilty of that in my 20s too. I went to like sushi by myself every other day, and it was a couple $100 here and there. Every trip I went on, I realized it wasn't really traveling. I was just vacationing because I was escaping some deeper rooted issues, in my 20s. Yeah. Just because I had the income, and, it's always going to come back to me. And it was a cyclical, cycle. I don't think I was ever really in bad debt. I just never got out of that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Oh,
trust me. When it comes to I deserve it.
Treat yourself culture.
What's that?
The treat yourself culture.
Yeah. Like when we moved out a year ago, I mean, we just, last week we celebrated our 1-year anniversary of being here in Vegas.
Oh, congrats.
Thanks. And so the week of our move, we stayed at Resorts World in the Trump Hotel, like before the closing, during the walkthrough, and then came back and stayed there. And I was going through my Instagram or something, or Facebook, that showed like your memories. And I was like, we had dinner at Yellowtail, Capitol Grill, Nobu, all in a week. Now, we had it planned. I knew that we didn't have a place to eat, right? So I knew we were going to eat out a lot. But I mean, it was $1,000 in probably 4 or 5 dinners. And we don't say we were medicating ourselves. That was our celebration week. However, you can't take that and do that monthly unless you have a plan, you have the income, and you do it intentionally. Yeah. Or else you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught like when the water goes in or when the water goes out. What's Warren Buffett say? When the tide goes out, you're going to see who's skinny dipping.
Yeah.
And so that's money we could enjoy that month while we were saving, while we were being generous, and while we were investing. That was part of our enjoyment money. And, when that works, like it works.
Yeah.
Just go. Like, this isn't about like you can only drink 3 energy drinks a month because of, they're $6. Like,
yeah.
Just be intentional with your money, and like it'll all work out.
Yeah. I like that you said that, because I think even now, like what we do with my partner and I, like we even allocate money to go camping. Camping doesn't actually cost that much, but we're like, this is what's going to look like. What do we want to do with the rest of our fun money? We're like, do we want to put into more real estate? Do we want to save that, do a bigger real estate deal?
Yeah.
And that's exactly the conversation that I'm hearing from you.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of this conversation,
Most people,
3 years ago.
and here's the thing, 20, most people don't have that conversation. Most couples don't. They should, but they just don't. And we learned a few years ago, and everything's with dates. Like I always, for some reason, I remember dates. I don't know what I wore yesterday, but I can remember like significant conversations with Melinda and I. I'll never forget in 2017, we had just paid off all of our debt. So we used Dave Ramsey's framework, Total Money Makeover, Financial Peace University to get through all of our debt. And I started real estate, but we weren't making that good of money. But Melinda had her birthday and we lived on the East Coast and she wanted to go to New York City. And so I remember like budgeting everything, all the time and the money to like the dollar of what things were going to cost. And the challenge with that was as soon as something didn't work out, it broke everything else after that.
You didn't leave the buffer.
There was zero buffer. There was no buffer on time. There was no margin or no margin on time and this and that. And I'll never forget, we bought Rockettes tickets online. Call it $50. I don't know how much they were, but they were $50. We had $100. And that was a lot of money to us back then. And especially on that trip. And we went to the wrong side of the building to get in to wherever the Rockettes were playing. And by the time we got all the way to the other side, the show had already started and they wouldn't let us in. And we couldn't do our tickets and exchange our tickets for the 9:00 show versus the 5:00 show or whatever. And I was so mad at her and myself and whatever, it just ruined the entire trip.
Oh, really?
Because we were so tight on time and money. And I'll never forget, that was by far probably one of the worst trips we went on. The next year, we went to a goal-setting retreat in Austin, Texas. And we had planned, and we went to Australia in 2018 for her birthday. And during that goal-setting retreat, I asked her if she could do anything every year, what would it be? And she said she wanted to travel to a new country for her birthday every year. I didn't know why she wanted to go to Australia. We saved up the money and we went to Australia. But until I understood that it was her goal to go to a new country every year for her birthday, now at the core, I know why she wants to go. She wants to be an adventure because it was so for her childhood and through school, she never got to experience any of that. And like she wants to adventure and she wants to jump off of buildings and she wants to swim with sharks and she wants to do all that. I want to go play golf. Like I'm easy, right? So now when we have conversations, I ask her, where do you want to go on your birthday? And she'll say Dubai or Spain or Italy or Cabo or whatever, doesn't matter. New country. And so the answer is not ever no. The answer is now, great. We'll plan for it so you can get that trip. And it's now it's opened up the relationship to say now I have to go build a business that funds that trip because I know how important that is to her every 12 months. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the encouragement I have for people that are either in phase 1 or phase 2 and having this conversation with your spouse. Find out what your spouse wants and why do they want it. Like, she's like, we live in Las Vegas. And you can only jump off the stratosphere so much, right?
Yeah.
But you can skydive over the palm of Dubai, or you can go to dinner underneath the Eiffel Tower, or you can go do the pyramids, but you're not going to be able to do that every year. Right? So going to do that and having that life moment and that life experience has really helped us grow our business, grow our relationship, and to start really having wealth building conversations that start paying for that stuff versus saving $2,000 a month. What are the things we can invest in that start funding that. So we can start shifting our quality of life up and to the right while we're increasing our business and increasing our wealth.
Yeah, that's such a powerful perspective. Australia is expensive.
No joke.
Holy crap.
And we did not fly that trip. We flew in the back of the plane and stayed, at $100 a night hotels. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. But like, that's just the season we were in.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it was an expensive trip. I mean, it was a big trip for us with the money we were making, and like, it's a time expensive. I mean, it's 2 weeks.
Yep.
So it's really more time expensive than financially, but it was both for us back then.
Did you guys go to the Great Barrier Reef?
We did.
Yeah. Place is amazing.
We did. Yeah. I mean, just like most times when people go to Australia, you don't go for long enough. Like, it's just, it's such a big country and continent, right? That it's just, there's so much to do. I will 100% go back. I will do Sydney again. I don't need to do the Great Barrier Reef again. But I will definitely do Sydney. I can do Melbourne. But then parlay that into, Tanzania or a New Zealand trip.
Yeah.
Or do Fiji, right? I mean, once you get all the way over there, like, stay.
You might as well just be over there for a month.
For a month.
That flight was brutal.
What's that?
I was on the plane for like ever.
Yeah. Well, come from Washington, D.C., not Las Vegas, right? I mean, it's even further.
Yeah.
So this year we just got back. We just did the mastermind that I'm in. We just had a London mastermind. So we went and did Scotland before London, and then went to London and then came back. But again, all saved for, all paid with cash, and just like enjoyed it. Like, the vacation didn't come home with us. I didn't come home with a $12,000 credit card bill that I got to figure out how to pay. It was all paid for in advance and then paid for along the way. And, that's why I call my my coach or my wealth building business stress-free wealth. It's not worth it if it's stressful.
Yeah.
Nothing is.
Amen to that.
Yeah. It's just not. I mean, when you're sober, like, it's less stressful being sober.
It's a lot less expensive too.
Yeah.
We can
it's
vouch
less
for that,
stressful.
right?
It's less stressful trying to figure out, when you, are you going to play blackjack this weekend? No, I just don't.
Yeah. Or hungover trying to figure out
why
you have like an $800 tab.
Yeah. Or why you have a $300 bar tab, or, getting home at 6 a.m. And then going out and trying to make 20 phone calls, you just can't do it. It's just it's just too stressful. So bringing all of that in, to help create wealth in all areas of life, I think is very important. And everyone should, put that on your goal list, to just be wealthy in all areas of life, stress-free wealth in all areas of life.
Do you have any tips for shifting that kind of mindset that you currently have from your sobriety to building wealth? Yeah.
So, now I got this along the way. So it's not like I had this 10 years ago, because I didn't have anything 10 years ago. I had be sober today and don't go to the fast food drive-thru. That was my plan a decade ago, right? So there are 5 mistakes, financial mistakes, that agents and entrepreneurs and truly people make when it comes to their wealth building journey. And the very first one addresses what you just mentioned. Too many people don't know what they want when they want it. So, which means if you're here and you don't know what you want out here, then the only thing you're going to do is look down the line of time. Today is Monday, right? Now, if you have inconsistent income and you are financially disorganized, and you and your spouse do this, it's this, right? Or it's that, and you have kids, and we have political injustice, we have social injustice, and we have all of the chaos that's going around us in the world, and we have car payments, and we have student loan payments, and we have credit card payments, and it's Monday. How far down the line of time, like you're looking out towards the end of the year, how far can you actually see if that stuff is clouding your judgment? Like Tuesday, right? And so, and when people are in that mode and they can only see Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they can see Friday, right? What's the old saying, oh God, it's Monday, thank God it's Friday, right? If that's the mentality, or it's as far down the line of time you can see, you're going to make decisions based on that. So now if someone's here, right, and they want to get, and they do want to get here, they don't know how to get there, and like a seller calls and says, hey, I want to take my house off the market, it's not selling, or why isn't my house sold? You're going to fight this fire. Well, and then, a buyer cancels a contract and you're going to fight that fire. Versus looking all the way out. And then all that is going to do is just take you off. It's just going to take you off track to your goal. Very similar to the, hey, we're leaving, very similar to like we're leaving Las Vegas and we're going to New York. We're going to Washington, D.C. And we get up, we leave the airport, and then the plane is 1 degree off to the north. Well, 1 degree off from Las Vegas to Denver is not that big of a deal. But over the course of 2,500 miles, you're not getting to Washington, D.C., you're going to end up in New York. So that's what happens when we start making decisions and we don't course correct on a very short time frame. So what I always encourage everyone is determine what you want. That's going to keep you selling real estate over and over and over and over and over. It's going to keep you on the transaction treadmill. It's going to keep you selling whatever you're selling. It's going to keep you going to your 9-to-5 job and away from entrepreneurship when you don't have a bigger view of time. So what I always encourage everyone to start day one is write down what you want. Be vulnerable and honest with yourself and tell yourself exactly what you want. And then when do you want it? Do you want to be married? Do you want kids? Right? Do you want a country club membership? Right? Do you want to be sober? Right? Do you want to be debt-free? And it actually all starts with write down exactly, actually become aware, be honest with yourself. I'm 300 pounds. I'm an alcoholic. I'm $200,000 in debt. I have an inconsistent income. I don't know where my next closing is going to come from, right? I watch porn. I cheat on my spouse. Whatever it is. Be honest with yourself in that general moment, right? Be honest with yourself. And then write down what you want. And you'll be able, and then obviously, if you're a believer, confess, repent, and write down what you want. And be honest with yourself. I want $50,000 a month of passive income. Want a $10 million net worth. Want a house in Cabo. Want a country club membership to Sohai. Right? I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to be pain-free. Right? I want to play 60 rounds of golf a year. I want to go on 36 dates with my wife. Yes, I want to play more golf than have dates with my wife.
She's aware of that, right?
Yeah, she is definitely aware of that, right? But write all of that stuff down daily. Because that will then help you decide where you need to take action the next 12 weeks on the 2 or 3 things to help you move the ball down the field. Because if you can go from today all the way out to some day from now, that could be 5 years from now, it could be 30 years from now. I don't care. Someday, look back, connect the dots. How did you get there? Right? So 10 years from now, what do you want? Someday from now, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah, because I have a 10, 5, 3, 1 list.
Yeah.
And I think I'm working on my year 1 because I'm reverse engineering
cool.
where I want to be.
Right.
10 years from now, I'm not going to live here. I'm going to be in a farm somewhere.
Okay.
Hopefully in Montana.
There you go.
I'm going to be in an RV, with my pack of dogs, maybe some children. That is in the future of the vision that I envision for myself.
Yep.
All the real estate we own is going to be all rental properties. Have multiple homes in the places that we want to travel to. Pretty basic, real estate investor kind of blueprint, right?
Sure.
So I think seeing that within the 10-year, self, where I want to put myself, what do I have to do at year 5? What's my net worth going to be? At my year 3, what do I have to do? On year 1, what do I have to give up? And for me, on my year 1, it's alcohol is what I gave up.
Yep.
And all of the things that I'm building towards is all reverse engineering from all the mistakes that I've learned and how I can propel from that and just kind of slowly cruise through.
There's zero doubt in my mind that you're going to be living with a wolf pack and a couple of kids in an RV sitting on some side of the Yellowstone. You know, you're going to be on the set of Yellowstone, 10 years from now, right?
No one can reach me.
No, yeah. It's like, and, it's one of the things that I want, right, is I think everybody they say they love to travel. Mm. Do you love to travel or do you love to vacation? Right?
Yep.
Because I don't know anybody that loves the process of traveling.
Oh, it's a pain in the ass.
It's awful, right? The pack. I mean, we live 20 minutes from the airport and it's still a pain.
Yeah.
Right? And so one of the things that's on my goal list is I call it world-class travel, which that means I go with my golf clubs and a backpack.
That's it?
And when I get in that, there is no security, right? It's either private or someone else's jet or whatever service is available. That's how I go to, we'll say Cabo San Lucas. Mm-hmm. When I get to Cabo San Lucas, I'm going to buy everything I need when I get there, or it's already at the house that we own there. One of the two. Mm-hmm. If we don't own a house, I'm going to buy everything I need when I get there. I'm going to play all the golf. I'm going to eat at all the best restaurants. I'm going to enjoy it world class. And then before I get on a plane to come home, I'm going to have it cleaned. I'm going to give it to a family in need on the way out of town and in the bag. And then I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to come home. Mm. Like that takes a financial number that does not exist to me today, right? Mm-hmm. So now I have a target. I have your Montana and an RV. I know what that looks like for me. Mm-hmm. Because now vacationing and travel are the exact same. There's zero stress on that trip.
Yeah.
Right? There's no TSA. There's no packing. Mm-hmm. Right?
Overthinking.
There's no overthinking. It's like, hey, 3 people, if you can get to Vegas, I got it.
Yep.
Or just fly in, on Southwest if you want. But if you want to come with me, you got to get to Vegas.
Yep.
But now we have a vision. Now I have something to go chase. Mm-hmm. Right? And you have something to go chase. Mm-hmm. But if you bring it all the way back to now, you just need to stay sober today.
Yeah.
Because if you stay sober today, you're going to keep taking steps towards that 1-year goal, which will help you get to the 3, which will help you get to the 5, which will get you to the 10. So that's the number one mistake that most people make is they don't do what you just did. Mm. They fight the fire today because they don't have a vision of 10 years from now. So good job.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. And so when did you start doing that? When did that 1, 3, 5, 10 or that 10, 5, 3, 1, when did that come into your world?
About 6 months ago. I started doing it last year, but it wasn't really concrete. Yeah. It's because I was still kind of wishy-washy about the things that I needed to put in place or to make it happen, right? Because I kind of
180 days ago.
Yeah, I thought sobriety was something that potentially looked good. I just didn't know it was accessible for me.
Yeah.
But because it took a whole lifestyle shift.
Sure.
So I think that was the hardest thing is just making the decision, like you said, right? Yeah. Awareness has been around for a while since when I hit rock bottom, it was about 2021, pretty much when I moved here in 2020. I isolated for a while, hit rock bottom, but I didn't know what kind of rock bottom it was.
Sure.
Was it my health? Was it financial? It was kind of everything. So it took a while to kind of crawl out of that just to get into a capable mental space first. Yeah. So it's always hey, gotta get out of it and then kind of build a plan from there.
I love it. How many days sober?
115 today.
Awesome. Good job. How do you feel?
I feel amazing. I think I have a shelf of, I'm a Scotch drinker. I still have my single malts. I don't even consider smelling it. Because that was the thing for me. I love smelling Scotch. Yeah. Now I don't even reach for the bottles just for the smell.
What's the, so what are your challenges? What are your blind spots when it comes to your alcoholism and your addiction? What are the things that are, what are the landmines that are laying out there? Where's the ninja behind the corner with the sword that you don't even know exists around your alcoholism?
Before it was just the friends I was with that kind of caused me into spiraling into emotional spending. Sure. Obviously, right? But now I don't think I really have any landmines, is because it's so much easier for me to say no, is because I'm making my decisions from such a conscious place, because I'm living intentionally. Like I can still hang out with people, but now like I just say no to most things that doesn't really appeal to me. It's because alcohol kind of made me comfortable where I usually wouldn't even be comfortable, because I'm pretty introverted.
Yeah.
Because before I'm always a fun friends. I always have fun blackout stories. Like, oh, guess what I did? Like, you don't know what you did. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I did.
Yeah, exactly.
We try to kind of like mend the pieces of all the things you break the night before, relationships, conversations, whatever, right? And I just got tired of living like that. And I think the landmines was kind of like me. It's just if I'm having a bad day, or if I'm triggered, or if I'm stressed out, that's the first thing I did.
Same friends or new friends?
New friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I moved here with no friends.
Yeah.
So every friend now that I consider a friend, it's kind of like family to me. It's because they hold like my core values.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't really peer pressure me or anything, because I don't consider those people friends.
What would you say are your core values?
Staying fit, like fit and frugal.
So healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like my health is my number one thing.
Okay.
It's like, I don't think no relationship is going to ever take me away from being the healthy person that I fought so hard to be in the last few years of like just constant struggling and all of these like mental health issues that I was dealing with. So that's kind of why this platform is important, because I sat down with myself and was like, what is my core values? It's staying fit and staying frugal, because that's how it's going to take me to where I want to be in the next, 1, 3, 5, 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah. So thank you for asking that.
Yeah, for sure. Proximity is everything, right? We're going to be what Jim Rohn's quote, right? The 5 people, you're going to be the 5 people that you hang around with the most. And I just believe that the more that you can keep that circle so small of the people that, have the same faith, and the people that have the same values around relationships or money, and, that they don't have to be sober, but they honor your sobriety, right? I think that's just, the thing that I focused on the most is that I never want to have to apologize or say I don't drink, like, and have to be in the place to where that makes me fit in, right? If that's the case, then I just don't need to be in that circle or that room, right? And so I just think it's important, and it sounds like you've done a very good job of that, of just being like, this is who I am, and I don't need to apologize for it. And I love that you know your dates. I know that like I remember, like, this is day 90, this is day 115. Or when I asked you that earlier off camera, you're like, what is today? And I was like, June 12th, and you're like, 115 days. Yeah. Like, when you know that, one, the awareness, the decision, and the intentionality is there. And then I'll give you a little secret. When you stop losing count of how many days, and all you know is months, or, hey, it's this date, you can start stacking a new habit. But until then, stay focused on this sobriety.
Thank you for the tip.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I don't have to think about not drinking anymore. It's 11 years. Now, there are alcoholics that cannot be around alcohol. There are gamblers that cannot walk into a casino. The good news is I've been able to really build the right habits to where that just there's no enticing. And I know that if I ever have an itch, that I just need to leave, because it's just going the wrong way. And I haven't had that here, but like, it's interesting now that I'm itching. It's
the irony that you moved to Sin City.
Yeah.
Where the gamblers and alcoholics live,
where you go into a gas station, you hear the dings and the lights, right? Going to Terrible's, and I mean, you go to get a full tank of gas and an energy drink, and the next thing you know, you got slot machines right next to or video poker machines right next to the cash register.
Yeah.
They're
everywhere.
So
inspiring, man. Yeah. I'm glad I met you on this journey.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we're always looking for new people to hang out with that are, there's no conflict, right? Faith and beliefs and money and relationships and, lifestyle are all going in the same direction. It just takes less energy. One of my coaches, first step is like, focus on getting your income, creating, and have that income create cash flow. And once you can, get to the consistent income that creates cash flow, then it's all relationship, energy, and finances. So REF, right? Relationships, energy, finances.
Mhm.
Focus on the right relationships, protect your energy, and the finances will take care of themselves.
Boom.
Yeah, it's good.
Good. Well, just want to acknowledge you for being here today.
Yeah,
Like your
thank you.
presence kind of mean a lot to me, and sharing your time, which
Yeah.
is like a really valuable resource.
I can't wait for you to
in
meet
this world.
Melinda. You guys will
Of
rock it
course.
together. You guys got to hook up and go on some hikes or play some pickleball or something.
Yeah, non-golf things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go to the driving range. That's about it.
Yeah, she likes the golf outfits. So she
Okay.
likes the golf outfits. You know, the golf dresses and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
you know, I don't know if playing is her thing, but she'll go on a hike
Yeah,
for sure.
cool.
So yeah, definitely connect up with her.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, that's it for us today. I hope you enjoyed. Anything that Matt has to say, you can connect with him more on Instagram
Yep.
at Matt Plumer.
At Coach Matt Plumer on Instagram,
Coach Matt Plumer on
Yep.
Instagram.
and then Matt Plumer on Facebook.
So yeah, that was a bit of our journey. So thanks for sharing that
Yeah.
with us.
It was
So
fun.
hopefully you can make a decision to stay fit and stay frugal. Bye.